What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. After Sound here with a fantastic guest for you, Nick Plays Crypto, who is a content creator and somebody who has had a little bit louder of a voice in Mav Chat recently. And Nick, you and I, this is our first actual conversation, which I'm very much looking forward
Right.
to. I just want to say that I appreciate, the perspective and passion that you bring to the game and to obviously what we're going to be talking about today, which is the exchange listings, as that is a very hot topic. So first of all,
Yeah.
welcome to the show. Secondly, for people who may not know you, if you just want to give your Splinterlands origin story, how you found the game, just give people a background of where you're coming from.
Right on. Thanks for having me, you guys. I love Splinterlands. My name's Nick. I've been doing the cryptocurrency stuff since 2016,
Nice.
February. So coming up on 8 years now. I found Splinterlands, I think it was 2020. I first got in like September of 2020. I was just looking at different crypto games at the time. Obviously, I saw the use case there, and I was, Splinterlands was a big one, and I kind of dove into it and saw how awesome it was. I love the fact that you could like rent your cards and stuff like
Hmm.
that. And they were talking about doing land and all that. And that was pretty new concept at the time. So yeah, I just kind of fell in love with the game and the community and everything surrounding it. And that's been like my main game that I've played. I don't even play any, normal console games or anything like that. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's my story.
I get that. I mean, so you came in 2020 before the bull run really started to take off, which
Yeah,
must have been
yeah,
it must have been exciting to kind of live through that because
it was.
I'm sure Splinterlands
Yeah.
was not as exciting in 2020 as it was obviously in 2021.
Yeah, it was extremely exciting to, get in. I remember, right when I got in, they started talking about the land sales and stuff like that. So
Hmm.
I kind of jumped on that. I had been around in 2017 and I had made a little bit of money back then. So I had some crypto sitting around and I just kind of found Splinterlands and I was like, damn, this is awesome. So I
Yeah.
started buying cards and renting them out. I pretty much never stopped doing that. So, I don't battle really that much. I'm more of like a land guy,
Yeah. You're waiting
like
for all the land
yeah,
updates. Okay.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yep.
Fair enough. Well, Matt has some crazy designs for that, so I do hope that they're able to
He
implement that
does, yeah.
sooner rather than later. Because again, if they can achieve the full vision of that, I do think that it gives way more utility to land than
It
any other
does.
Web3 game
It
out there.
does. It's really, really cool, and just all the things they have in the pipeline for that are just,
Hmm.
I see all these other games because I do a lot of exploring on Twitter and see all these other, people talking about all these other big games, and like I'm just like, you guys are so far behind compared to Splinterlands. It's not even funny. Like you guys are just talking about like just stuff that like Splinterlands already had going 5 years ago. So that's
Yeah.
why I love this game so much, and I'm willing to fight as hard as it takes to see it prosper.
Well, I mean, agree with you in that. I came in 2021, and again, even that's like 3 years ago at this point, and Splinterlands was. It feels as though it's had a head start in terms of just there was a awesome rental market, all these third party tools, just all these different things,
Right,
and I think probably one of the most frustrating things for folks right now and through the bear market was this idea that we had a bit of a lead, first movers advantage, and we're
we
not
did.
seeing, we're seeing other games start to catch up very quickly. And I think a
Right,
big part of that and the frustration behind that obviously is the token value not really moving up. And I think the main thing, obviously, to pivot into what you and I wanted to talk about today was how can we help that, right? An exchange
right,
listing is something that we see a lot of other bigger projects,
right,
do, even if they don't have the underlying game there, right? I mean, Illuvium and
right,
Gala, like all these other gaming tokens without a product were all listed in 2021 and benefited from that run up. We did it as well, but the ease of use, onboarding, all that stuff, getting people, from the moment they see something on, like Aggie on Killer Whales, to being able to just jump into a major exchange, there's not
right.
that opportunity there. So we were
No,
talking before we hit record, and I think it'd be a
yeah.
good place to start where you mentioned how did we get here? How did we get to this point? And then we can kind of dive further into the exchange listings and how you're feeling or looking about that.
Um, well, there's a little bit of a story behind it in a way, but and a lot of people might have different variations on some of the key things that play a role in this. But the crypto space has matured a little bit. I mean, it's still pretty
Hmm.
immature, long term speaking. But what we're seeing now is like a lot of the blockchains and somewhat popular in 2021 aren't very popular anymore, and they've kind of the wayside. And I think the main reason for that is some of these chains realized very early on that they have to be able to attract capital to the chain itself.
Hmm.
All right. And that was what happened with that whole DeFi summer, which preceded 2021's bull run. That was like
Yeah.
summer of 2020, I think.
Hmm.
So that when the DeFi stuff started, billions of dollars started pouring onto like Ethereum primarily. And why Ethereum? Because it was just had the smart contracts and it was decentralized. And
Yeah.
some other people realized like, oh, there's a lot of money going on to Ethereum, so we better make sure that we're like compatible with Ethereum, because all the people, the developers are going to want to develop where the money's going. So
Sure.
we got
Yeah.
to make sure we're compatible with that. So you started to see all these other layer twos pop up for Ethereum, and the EVM compatibility
Yep.
was like a big marketing factor for a lot of them, because they're like, look, why don't you guys just develop something on our little layer two? Because it's like you're using the same code you use for Ethereum anyways. It'll be easy. You can just like basically copy paste a lot of it, alter it and tweak it a little bit. But like, so a lot of projects did that, because the transaction fees were a lot cheaper on those layer
Yeah.
twos. So Hive didn't do that though. Like they, and you can go back, like I looked into it and there's people talking about it like 2-3 years ago. You can see the articles on Peaked where they're like, Hive desperately needs EVM compatibility. And we needed it because we needed to be able to attract some of that capital to Hive,
Hmm.
right? Because then you can like run DApp stuff on Hive that connect to all these other dApps and stuff, and
Yeah.
bridge easier and whatnot. But so they haven't done that. And then the other problem with Hive is that there's only like 100. There's only a handful of witnesses that secure the Hive blockchain. So like, who's gonna want to like secure billions of dollars with like 100 people running the nodes?
Yeah. Exactly. They
It's
can.
like that's a problem. And that's why Matt right now is like, that's why a lot of the exchanges like Binance and Coinbase, that's like a big thing we have going against us, is because Hive isn't really that decentralized compared to the other chains that a lot of these other tokens are running on. So
Hmm.
like, if SPS goes on Binance and then a bunch of people buy SPS, that's great. And SPS has like a $1 billion market cap. That's great. But you got to remember that SPS is being secured by like 100 people, less than, I don't know. A lot of those
Yeah.
witnesses are inactive. If you go look at the
Yeah. Yeah.
activity of like, it's like some of the people haven't, you know, um, approved a block in like years. So that's why I think Matt's like, yeah, we need to be more decentralized first. And that's why they amended the proposal to say that, because it's hard to negotiate for an exchange to want to list SPS when they're
Hmm.
like, well, your token's on a chain that like 50 people could decide they just want to take all that money for themselves, so
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a majority of the tokens are sitting on Hive now, so I can
right,
understand where he's
right,
coming from.
yeah, yeah. So, and that's why they want to get the SPS or the validator nodes or whatever. They
Hmm.
want those to be up and running, because it would basically be like Splinterlands creating its own little blockchain to run its stuff on and validate its transactions. It would be like a Hive layer 2, and I would honestly be for, at this point, Splinterlands just kind of separating itself from Hive altogether, if it could, to be honest. If you could have 3,000 people running nodes, I mean, Solana's got like 3 or 4,000 people
Mhm.
running nodes, and that secures billions of dollars. So,
Well, as a quick aside, just because this has come up a lot, if we were to move to a different blockchain, where would you see a best or better fit
I
if one
don't know.
exists?
I don't know. I would probably say either Solana or some type of Ethereum layer 2. It's
Mhm.
hard to say because it seems like every bull cycle there's like new big ones that everyone's hyping up. So you could say
Yeah.
Solana now, and then in 4 years it's like no one even cares about that one anymore. So it's hard to say. I would be, you know if the validator, from what for how I understand the validator nodes, is it's essentially like your own little proof of stake blockchain. And if you can
Mhm.
have like, 5,000 players running that on their computer, stirring the network, that'd be pretty decentralized, in my opinion. If you look at what
Yeah.
the other, like I looked it up the other day, Solana's distributed amongst like 32 or 3,300 nodes or something like that. So it's
Mhm.
about,
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, anything, as you said, to get us a little bit further away from Hive.
right.
At the end of the day, Hive, like, I don't dislike the chain, but there's no denying that in many ways it's holding Splinterlands back. So I,
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
I hope that there's a way to navigate around that. Obviously, that doesn't seem like a top priority for
Right.
this year, just
Right.
with everything else going on. But
But who knows what those validator nodes could be morphed into in the
mhm,
future. It could be, I don't, I'm not a developer, so I don't understand. But if you could like use that to jump into your own, chain, or I don't know. I don't know. So,
yeah. Okay. Well, let's pivot back then to
yeah.
the exchange listings, right? So there's been a lot of talk about that recently. Then we had somebody anonymously posting under Soy Misterioso, who has put together this proposal, which it's odd to me because we had, a year ago designated like 30 million SPS to Blockchain Founders Fund and Alley. Never heard back on anything that they were doing, even though they're the ones that asked for it. Right. So again, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know the status
Right.
of that, and maybe I'm just
I
out of the loop at this
yeah.
point. But now we have this proposal coming in. It's been amended twice over the past couple of days following the town hall. Um, and we can get into the details of the proposal. I can actually pull it up here. But before we do that, I just wanted to get your opinion on, like, from just the base layer. Well, why is getting on a proposal? Sorry, why is getting on an exchange or a major exchange super important? Like, why is this something that you have become extremely passionate about?
Because as we kind of talked about a little bit earlier, after sound, the SPS and Splinterlands as a game, it just has a problem with exposure to capital.
Hmm.
Okay, we're not getting any venture capitalists, throwing like $3 to $5 million at us. So, and like I told you earlier, Hive as a blockchain is not attracting any DeFi liquidity. That's not even really on the radar for them. So, where is the money going to come from? Where's the ecosystem that we are in is very poor and devoid of all of that liquidity right now. So that's why the exchange is so important, because if you look at Binance and you look at their 24-hour volume, which is basically how much money is exchanging hands at that exchange, it's like almost $60 billion per day.
Oh,
So that's a lot of volume. I mean, a lot of these chains, the dexes, the decentralized ones, these pools and these, they are made, like Solana has the biggest DEX right now. I think it's called Jupiter, and it just
Yeah.
did that DEX just did like $3.4 billion, and they were making a big deal out of that. That's Binance does what, like almost 20 times that in a day.
Mhm.
So that would be a way to expose our token game and even Hive. This would be the best thing that would happen for Hive as a blockchain in a while if
Yeah. Yeah.
Splinterlands got listed, because that would raise the price of SPS just by virtue of it being exposed to all those traders and all that liquidity. And then that SPS that our wallets on Hive will then be worth more money. So it would put a bunch of liquidity on Hive. So
Mhm.
it's kind of a no-brainer. I mean, a Hive ecosystem, I believe, has a fund. I don't know what they're doing with it, but maybe they should throw some of that money at this, because if Splinterlands got listed, and especially with how big the crypto gaming narrative has been, I
Mhm.
mean, it's a big narrative that's probably second maybe only to like AI in this cycle. And, would benefit quite a bit if Splinterlands got listed on Binance. And I think they should be working with us to happen.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I mean, there's a lot of money available through, I think, like the Hive DAO or Hive Fund, and I think a lot of here's my very limited kind of perspective, based on interactions I've seen and had. To me, people who are on Hive that are not part of Splinterlands almost view Splinterlands as like it's too, like Splinter has become too big for Hive in many ways, and
It
I don't know
has.
if many people on the rest of Hive kind of resent that to a certain extent. Right? They want Hive to be this
Probably.
flourishing, place with a
Probably.
bunch of different dApps. But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, and we have had a couple of games launch, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like Splinterlands is what's driving the majority
Yeah.
of
It
people
is.
being or interacting with the Hive ecosystem. So, like you said, the interests align. It should be something that they would want to happen,
Right.
because again, that would just bring more people into not just the Splinterlands ecosystem, but obviously that's built on top of the Hive ecosystem.
Right.
So I can,
Right.
I don't know where things are at on that. I know that Matt wanted to go to the Hive DAO specifically for funding for the team, just because he
Right.
recognized how
Yeah.
important Splinterlands was. But
It is.
maybe this is something that Claiborne should be going to them for as well and saying, "Can you pitch in?" Because an
Right.
exchange listing would be huge.
It would. It would. So we're working on it. Claiborne started a channel on the Discord for kind of discussing it more specifically, because obviously you know how the Mav chat is. Everything just gets drowned out, and
Yeah.
people jumping in with random points, but not really caring about the discussion itself. So yeah, he started another channel, and we've kind of talked. We've actually made some progress, and it seems like some of the people that most people think like there's some there's some really hardened like anti-exchange listing people. They're not as hard against it as you think. Like there's
Okay.
not they're willing. They see the benefit in it. They're just very conservative about how the money in the DAO is spent.
Mhm.
And that's fine. You need people like that. Which is why I think there's some very like simple and easy solutions on how to spend that money and how to go about raising the capital to put us in a position to even negotiate for that exchange position or that exchange listing. Um, so right now it seems like they amended that proposal. They amended it, like you said, and they put a few stipulations on there. They
Mhm.
put the stipulations, I believe one of them was like, get the new experience done or finished, which is very ambiguous and vague because there's no way to measure that. That's debatable whether people are even satisfied. that.
Hmm.
So that's you know, that'll probably have to be talked about more. And then they also the validator node talked about a little bit. The validator nodes, they want that to be done because, like they said, it's hard to get the exchange to want to list a token that is not well decentralized, because that puts the users of that exchange buying that token at risk,
Hmm.
because they could rug it. You know, the people that run the network, 50 of them could conspire to rug that token. So Binance isn't about to a token that's only secured by 50, 70 witnesses or something like that. So
Sure.
that's why they put those stipulations on there. So, you know, the validator nodes thing makes sense because, like, that's going to come up in the negotiations. So, like, that
Hmm.
probably they're right, which is why I think DeJoda put together a proposal or something. He wrote an article about it, but he said we should give Claiborne the ability to hire some developers. For
Yeah.
we should get $350,000 together and hire some developers to rush the validator nodes, which
Yeah.
I,
I
you
saw
know,
that.
yeah, did
Hmm.
you see that? Yeah,
Hmm.
so I
So
it's probably necessary. I think it's a good way to spend the funds, something we got to do anyways. So I don't know.
yeah, I mean, I Matt obviously wants to get this done. I think he recognizes the importance of it overall. So once again, you know, if the DAO is willing to chip in, and shout out to DJ for putting that proposal together. If people decide that they want the DAO to chip in to make this actually happen sooner rather than later, then you know, again, I wouldn't be I wouldn't be opposed to that, right? I'll need to
Right,
read through the proposal fully, but I think we're all starting to feel the crunch a little bit. You know, the bull run is here. Bitcoin hit a new all time high. It's a couple of all time highs, right? So, to me, it's just representing that there's like things are on the move, and
they are. Yeah,
there's a feeling of being left behind right now. Seeing a lot of other projects kind of pop off, and so obviously having an
there is.
exchange listing, getting everything ready. Now, going back to the proposal, obviously there was the amendment for, like you said, the new player experience. I mean, I'm okay with that as long as you like you said, as long as it's better defined, right? On the
Right,
last town hall, they said one click set rentals, and then what's that called? Oh, like the onboarding or whatever
right,
that is,
right,
right? Once they do the reward rework, those are the two things that they want. So it's like, okay, if we define that, I'm fine with them wanting to wait until after that. Um,
right,
but there was also the amendment to the exchanges, right? So Coinbase has essentially been
right,
taken out,
right.
and now it's just Binance. And I'm wondering what your thoughts on that are.
Um, yeah, my thoughts on that are that obvious. Well, there's a lot of arguments and there's a lot of details, and like it's easy to have an opinion one way or the other, but there's like some easy stuff to look up that would inform your opinion, like the 24-hour volume. Like
Hmm.
the 24-hour volume of Binance, like I said before, is about like 58 or 60 billion. Coinbase is only 8 billion.
Hmm.
So if you're, you know, what if they both said, okay, you guys, we'll list you for $3 million? It's like, well, per spent exposure volume is a lot higher with the Binance one, right?
Yeah,
You're
I
spending
agree.
3 million to get exposed to 60 billion a day. So that once I, you know, that was pointed out to a few people that were really pro Coinbase, I think they were kind of like, oh, well, shit, you know. So
Yeah, I agree.
um, they kind of like saw that that's, you know, you can't really argue against that, but like there's no reason, like I agree with all the people that want Coinbase too, because I
Hmm.
love the Coinbase is what I've always used since 2016, and I think Coinbase is like probably one of the most legitimate crypto institutions out there, if not
Hmm.
the most legitimate one. They're, you know, a publicly traded USA in, you know, corporation, so they've got a lot of oversight, and I've generally never had a problem with you feel pretty safe with using them. So
Yeah.
my whole thing was like, you don't just go for Binance. You would go for Binance and then you would just go for Coinbase second. Like that's gonna be what we do. So
Yeah, it makes sense
you
to me.
know,
Obviously, like you said, Coinbase has a lot of, at least a lot more regulatory clarity with it through, the fact that they're a public company. But
right,
Binance is bigger, and part of the reason that I'm okay with sidelining Coinbase for now, aside from Binance being bigger, is the fact that, for the U.S. specifically, right, which I think a lot of the users in Splinter are, even though it is an international game, we do have an option already, which is crypto.com. And
it's true.
you may or may not like it, but at least it exists for US.
Right, right,
So it's like if we had to choose one, Coinbase would have been what I would have wanted for US users to have that. But as you were alluding to earlier, like the BNB chain is not something that's liked by a lot of US based
right.
exchanges.
It's
So
not
Binance being bigger, and US already having a place where they can onboard if needed. To me, it's like, okay, obviously Coinbase would be fantastic. They have a lot of backing. They have, they're leading the
right,
industry in many ways, both nationally and globally.
right.
But Binance has tremendous reach and tremendous volume. I mean, I didn't realize that
And
the difference. I knew that they were
yeah,
bigger, but I didn't
it's
realize they
big.
were like
It's
six,
big.
6 to 7 times bigger
Yeah,
than
much bigger.
Coinbase.
Yeah,
So
and the way I see it, Binance brings the exposure to the volume which we'll need to raise money in the future. And Coinbase brings the legitimacy. I mean, once you're on Coinbase, like we might start having like VCs in the USA, like come start looking at us, be like, dang, this game's really got something going. They're listed on Coinbase. They're a legitimate company that's,
mhm.
running this thing. They could. So yeah, Binance is for the volume and Coinbase is for the legit. You want to go for the volume first because what could that could be the rocket fuel that enables you to go for everything else. So
Yeah, true. I mean, a lot of us are hoping with the way that the tokenomics are designed and all that, we will see, a rise in price for SPS
right,
that puts the market cap of SPS in a place where, a lot of games that we at this point in time are looking up to, right? Or at least a lot of platforms, I should say.
right,
All right. So all those games that are in like the 500 million to 1 billion
right,
market cap at this point in time, it'd be great, if we were at that level with them
right.
and be able to rise.
It would.
But that would, I mean, even now at this point, that's what, almost like a 10 to 20x, right, from where we're at. Um, which, hey, I wouldn't mind having 25-cent SPS. I think that would do a lot for the game
Me either,
overall.
man. That's yeah, that would be very nice. But yeah, it just a lot of it goes back to Matt's point that the game needs to be more decentralized because if you start having market caps and SPS worth that much money, Splinterlands itself needs to be more decentralized than what it is running on Hive because people aren't
Mhm.
going to feel secure holding that much money on a chain where 50 to 70 people could decide to take it all for themselves. So I see that point, and I the new player experience that everyone is obsessed about. That's a good point too. I think it needs to be done, but I also want to remind people that based on, and I do a lot of playing and exploring of Web3 crypto games, especially the mobile ones, but a lot of the desktop browser ones too. Our
Mhm.
player and even our new player experience is like far, far superior to almost all the experiences I've had trying to play a lot of these other games. I mean, the mobile ones are pretty smooth, but they're in a whole category. Splinterlands, and we do need to refine our mobile app. That'll happen.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of people that were saying we need to do that first. It's like, guys, that's a pretty big task. That's a platform that you're doing stuff on. So,
Mhm.
but yes, keep in mind, guys, that our new player experience is based on the exploring that I've done is our game doesn't crash like immediately just trying
Yeah.
to like connect your wallet and stuff. Like we have a functioning product, and a lot of people can't even really say that, and they're like hyping their games up all over Twitter, and people are like spending hundreds of dollars on the NFTs and stuff, and like it doesn't even work. It's like our game is vastly superior. That's why we need to be fighting to expose it to more capital. That's why
Yeah.
we have something that's way better than what anyone else even knows exists is out there. So yeah.
Well, last thing on the amendments, there was also the change to saying like we don't sell SPS unless it's at 10 cents, which is like a 4x from where we're at right now at about 2.5 cents.
Yeah.
What do you think is the wisdom behind that, and what are the reason behind that?
Well, they want the people saying that probably just would feel more comfortable if the Dow was worth 30 million, spending 5 million, maybe even 10 million on an exchange listing. I mean, if we're in a bull run, people got to understand, like, everyone's trying to get an exchange listing. Like, our negotiating position for this is not as strong as it was
Sure.
last year when this initially got put into action. It's not as strong. So like they're wrong for thinking that either. But here the problem with that is that we would be essentially doing more of the game just sitting on our hands while we hope and pray that SPS just catches a wave and jumps up to 10 cents. We're just at the mercy of the environment and the prevailing winds. And
Yeah.
I don't like being at the mercy of the environment. I like to take control, which is why I suggested in the channel on the Discord that, and this wouldn't really be that hard to do. I don't know if we'd have to pay somebody to do it or what. I suggested we create a bot that just starts selling some of the SPS now. And it wouldn't have to be a lot. Like we have what? Like if you look at our biggest liquidity pool, it's a pancake swap. I think it's on Ethereum, not the Binance Smart Chain one. I think it's the Ethereum one. I could be wrong
Yeah,
about that.
it should be Sushi Swap, but yeah, I get what you're
Is
saying.
it? Oh, okay. Is it? Yeah. Either way, it's only got about 300,000 in 24-hour volume. So, like, even if we wanted to, like, just sell a bunch of SPS, like, let's just sell 50 million SPS and just get this exchange listing right now. We couldn't because there's not enough people spending money on SPS every. There's only 300,000 of it being bought and sold every day. So we
Yeah.
would just make the price immediately when we sold like a couple million of it. It would just go down to like less than half a cent. So what I would recommend is we just start selling a little bit every day into that volume. Maybe like start off with like $1,000 of it a day, maybe even less. I don't know. And we would still be hoping that we catch the prevailing winds and like Bitcoin goes up to like 120, 150,000. So liquidity just starts pouring into crypto and like everything starts going up and SPS starts going up too. And we do see that 10-cent price get hit. We're going to have to sell some of it anyways at that point. So why wouldn't we just create a little system where we already have that like ready to go? Okay. And then once it did hit 10 cents, then we're like, hey, we don't just sell. Now we're going to sell like, 50,000 SPS a day and, get like this much money. And like, then we can see the money for the listing actually going up. Like anyone could go on the site and watch it. And that way it would appease both sides because you wouldn't be selling that much SPS at first until the price is up. It wouldn't be, but then at least everyone that wants to see this happen would be like, I can go on the website and, it's going up. So they're doing it, and calm them down a little. And you could even put a function on there that anyone who wants to donate some DEC or SPS to the fund can do that. And, maybe for all you know, you raise 10% of that fund could just be raised by donations. So, that was my idea. Instead of just sitting on our hands, hoping and praying for tenants, which may never happen because siloed off from all of the liquidity in crypto to begin with. So yeah, I think that they should start it sooner with small amounts to appease people.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not opposed to setting up some kind of like automated trading bot. I think you'll probably run into a lot of resistance. People saying we shouldn't be selling SPS at 2.5
No,
cents.
yeah,
But
you might. You would
yeah,
start with very small amounts, though, very
sure.
small amounts. But it would just put the system in place, and then that way the whole debate would just centered around, okay, should we start selling more when it hits 4 cents? Like, should we tweak
Mhm.
it so it sells a little? And then we already have the whole system in place to raise the money, and then the whole debate would just be about like how to tweak the bot. More conservative people that don't want to sell SPS could be like, no, we should only sell less amounts and tweak it that way. And then people that are like, no, we should sell more. But the bot would always be selling. That way, the whole argument is contained just to like how to tune bot. And then, and you could use this to
Yeah.
fund lots of things in the future. But that's how I think they should go about doing it.
Well, okay, so this is going to be a fun little hypothetical exercise, and we can start to wrap
Hmm.
up with this one. So we talked about the proposal as it was and as it is now with all these different amendments. Um, I I'll be honest, I don't know if it's going to pass or not. I've seen a lot of people kind of throw some criticism saying that like as it's written now, it's not as good as it was. There's definitely things that could be done better. So my question to you is, if you were to write a proposal today, right, what would that look like? And the reason I'm asking is because I think there's a lot of folks, Cryptomancer is the one who funded, I think, this other proposal. So if the idea is good, you might get that backing there. You might get a lot of people who want to come in and say like, "Hey, this is a better way to move forward in case this first one doesn't hit, right, or this first one doesn't go through." What are like the main things that you would want to focus on for a proposal for an exchange listing at this point, knowing what we know now?
Based off all the discussions I've seen and kind of boiled down a lot of the issues, my idea for how to make the best proposal to go about this would be to boil the discussion down to how are we going to sell the SPS? Because at the end of the day, whether SPS is 3 cents or 20 cents or 50 cents, you're still going to have to sell some of it. So, how do you go about that? I make a proposal that says we're going to create a little trading bot that does it for us. And then that way, all future discussions around all proposals that require funding and that we have to raise funding for would just boil down to how we tweak this bot. Does it sell more when SPS goes up to this price, or does it sell less? Do we sell more when it is higher? Because the long term, the problem is with the Dow. We should have sold SPS back when it was worth like 25 or 30 cents for a bunch of stable coins back then. Okay.
Mhm.
Claiborne said this to me. He told me, he's like, we should have done stuff back then and sold some of this stuff and swapped it into stable coins. That way we'd probably have like 15 million just pure cash sitting there, but now we don't. So we have to figure out a way to build up like stable coin reserves over time. And that's what we have to do now to fund this anyways. We should have been doing this, but
Yeah.
we're going to have to sell it. Like, what are we going to proposal for every time we want to sell it, and how, and people debating on that every time. And it's like, why don't we just create a small bot and then we just like have a select committee of people that tune the bot, and then we're building up our reserves in our DAO of stable coins. And then the first priority to do with those reserves would be to spend it on the exchange listing.
Okay.
Okay. But we can leave the bot running after that, and it can slowly, what if we spike up to like $1 and it's just like a really unnaturally high price spike? what are we going to have to create a proposal to tell Claiborne to sell some? What, like, we got to be able to take advantage of that, like, right when it happens. So we need a way, a system that could take advantage of these external market conditions and sell some SPS if it spikes to like $1, like real quick. Like, I want to sell like 1 million of it into stable coins, and then we can even, like, if it plummeted after that and there's a bear market, then we can use some of those stable coin reserves to do like stock buybacks. So like,
Hmm.
this really boils down to a problem with the DAO gonna fund future endeavors like this going forward. Because if we can't figure out how to fund this exchange listing, which is our main, Hail Mary, basically, to expose us to the crypto liquidity at large, how are we going to fund anything else in the future? So I suggest we create a bot to do it, and that takes a little bit of the emotion out of it. It kind of consolidates a lot of the arguing into just like some very straightforward parameters that you tweak on a little interface, and you just put the
Hmm.
DAO manager in charge of tweaking it, and you have a committee of people that inform him how it should be tweaked. Put a couple really good traders on that committee that know how to do technical analysis and stuff like that. We should be taking advantage of the market conditions and building up reserves of stable coins for the long-term stability of the game. That's what my proposal would be, and it goes a lot deeper than just the exchange listing.
Gotcha. So you're trying to set up the DAO to have a lot of working capital in the future, where it's
Yes,
instead of having
yes,
the lag of selling SPS, right?
yes,
The
yes,
pre-proposal and proposal
yes,
closes. I mean, that's a 2 week
yes.
process, right? Every single
It is.
time. And
Yeah, it
I,
is.
in a recent live stream, I was literally just saying, the moment somebody puts in a proposal to say, "Hey, let's start selling SPS," I mean, everybody's going to front run that, right? So there
It
has to be
should
some.
be it should be happening automatically a little bit, and then the whole debate would just be like, do okay, let's sell more, and then people would be like, no, let's just keep it where it's at, but it would always be happening a little bit, and then
Yeah.
maybe it would just be easier to do those, you know what I mean, to sell some more if we want to. Or we sold, we sold 10 million SPS when it was worth 30 cents, and now it's only worth 10 cents. We could do a buyback, and then we could use that bought back SPS to fund like the validator nodes and stuff like that, So like,
Mhm.
the way we have to like really actively be managing our DAO, okay? And we have a good DAO because we have really good community participation in it, and people are like really engaged with it. But we need to actively manage those funds, and I think that if we can do that, and we can like slowly start to pull value out of the market at large and convert it to stable coins and like extract value from that liquidity, then we can build up a pool of stable coins that will keep this game running for a very long time. We can fund it. We could fund developers. We can fund other projects and other launches and other endeavors. I mean, if you look at like the SPS DAO, if you look at in the white paper, it says, I have it up right here, the DAO can use funds to invest. We
Mhm.
could invest our money into other things. So I think that we have to really look at the problem that exists that underlies the exchange listing, is that we don't even have the funds liquidly available really to begin with, because we can't sell SPS into $300,000 24-hour volume. We can't raise funds. So we need a method to be doing that, and then we need to attach the exchange listing as the first priority once we've raised all these funds.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep.
How much would you be willing to spend on an exchange listing, just out of curiosity, if you were to put that into a proposal? Or is it something we
uh,
just, if we have the money, we just got to get it?
well, you got to put things into perspective. You look at the Dow 6 months ago in October, the DAO was only, it was worth less than $5 million.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's worth like over 11 million, almost $12 million. So we're already double what we were in October. So like, what if we were having this conversation in October? So we're already sitting with double we've already
Yeah.
made the amount of money just by in our token appreciation that they're saying it would cost for this listing, which is like up to $5 million. Some people saying 10 million.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We don't know because, like I said, we're in a bull market. Everybody and their brother wants to get their token listed. So we are not in the strongest negotiating position. But with that said, we are worth $6 million more than we were 6 months ago. So
Sure.
$6 million is a good chunk of change. But I do think that, like Matt said, we need the nodes running and the new
Yeah.
player experience. Like the nodes, I understand the logic behind the nodes. So like that's number one in my eyes. The new player experience is like that's the icing on the cake. So yeah, I think that those are the two things that
Two
we
big
need
ones.
first. Yeah, the
Gotcha.
big ones. Yeah.
Cool,
So
man. Well,
yeah,
this was a lot of fun. I really, really, like I
yep,
said, appreciate your perspective. You've been in the game longer than I have, and you've seen a lot of things
right
come
on.
and go. You've actually been in crypto longer than me. I came in during the 2017 bull run, so
Oh,
you know,
really? Yeah,
we
fun
we've
times.
we've seen a lot of projects, come and go. We've seen a lot of projects that have utility that don't have the player base or that don't have like the user base and vice
Right.
versa, right? And I love the game, right?
Me too.
I've gotten to know a lot of the team members through doing
Yeah.
music contract work with them, and they're trying
Right.
to build something cool. And I want it to be successful. Don't get me wrong, I got my
Me too.
bags, I got my biases, but there's a lot of really great people working and trying to create
There
something.
is.
So I'm with you on wanting it to be exposed to as many people as possible. And I do think an exchange listing would help with that.
Right.
So
Right.
I'll give you the floor if you have any final thoughts that you want to share, and I also want to make sure you give a place where people can connect with you or send you to, whether that's X or Twitter. I know you have a YouTube channel where
I
you're
do.
doing some Heroes of Mavia content.
Yep. Been
So
playing some Heroes of Mavia. Yep. So
I,
yeah, follow me on Twitter, Nickplayscrypto, just like down on below on the screen, and YouTube. Those are my two main platforms, and you guys see me on Discord here. And I guess the final thought, guys, was things are heating up in the crypto world. Okay, there's a lot of shiny objects out there.
mhm.
There's a lot of hyped up, what I would consider garbage, but don't underestimate people's ability to chase trash over what is actually a good product. Okay, we know Splinterlands is top tier when it comes to Web3 and crypto games. We have to fight to make sure stake out our place in this burgeoning industry because it can get very easy to get amongst the trees. So make sure we fight. We need exposure to liquidity. A tier one exchange listing is
Mhm.
crucial. We need to enable our DAO to fund endeavors like this, not just now with this exchange, but we need to enable it to take advantage of the market conditions and fund money for future endeavors for the long-term prosperity of Splinterlands. That is all.
Solid message, man. I can get behind it.
Thank you.
Guys, make sure you go and support Nick. Follow him on X or Twitter and YouTube as well. Nick, stick around for a minute. Just want to I'll end the recording here, but thanks everybody for tuning in. We look forward to hearing your feedback on this, and hopefully we find a way forward with this proposal or a future one to get SPS on a major exchange and in front of many, many more hopefully awesome people who want to play the game. But that is all I got. That is all we got. We'll catch y'all later. Peace.
Bye, guys.